sanctions that he's already imposed. Here to take it all up, Foreign Relations Committee member Senator Bill Hagerty. Senator, wonderful to see you tonight, and that's
Likewise,
a good question. There are a lot of people very upset about this and want the administration to act, but it doesn't appear that they're willing to act in a meaningful way.
Yeah, I'm shocked at the hesitancy of the Biden administration. This is very obvious to the American people. We support freedom. We're the most exceptional nation on the planet. We've always supported freedom, and I can't imagine why this is a difficult decision for the Biden administration to step up and show support of the citizens in Cuba right now. They've been oppressed by the Castro regime for years. This is finally the blossoming of freedom that's taking place there, and it should be celebrated, supported, and I think we should be in a very different place than we happen to be right now.
Well, protesters marching on the Cuban embassy yesterday had this to say to President Biden. Take a listen.
At least talk about what is happening. At least say the truth. Give a press conference and talk about it. Say it. Say it. Say that they are killing people. Say it. Okay? Say that they are doing it because they are.
Painful for me because I have family back there that are my cousins that are young, that are 16 and older. They're hiding right now in Cuba because they don't want to be taken. My aunts are crying and praying.
Help us out. You know, people are dying in Cuba, and the history between Cuba and the United States, it's from years ago. Multiple times Cubans helped this country, so it's time to return the favor.
Their voices are powerful and heartbreaking, Senator.
They certainly are, and I think this is what America is seeing. This is where communism and socialism leads. The misery that the Cuban people have suffered has gone to the point that they've actually resorted to a situation like this where there's actually violence in the streets. Certainly we don't condone violence, but we appreciate their call for freedom. I think maybe the Biden administration is having a hard time criticizing this because of all the leftist socialist policies that they've been pushing through right now and that they plan to push through.
I was going to say they're no stranger to the administration is no stranger to hypocrisy. But when it comes to this issue, it seems like turning a blind eye is the easier way to deal with it, because if we really dig into what's happening in Cuba right now, you really see what happens under a socialist regime. And there are so many in this country that see those undertones within the lawmaking right now and worry that it's going to happen to us.
I think this is a great case in point. This is a lesson for America. This is where socialism leads. This is the misery that we all know will be the end result of these socialist policies are actually allowed to be pushed through. That's why the Republican Party, that's why my colleagues are here fighting as hard as we are every day.
Speaking of your colleague, Senator Ted Cruz was out today calling out President Biden over his leadership. Let's listen to that.
I call on Joe Biden to take up the mantle of leadership expected from an American president, to speak unequivocally and say, America stands with the people of Cuba. The communist regime is evil, it is oppressive, it is illegitimate, and it must fall.
But, President, he won't say it.
Indeed.
Pardon me, Senator. Excuse me.
Well, I know President Biden will not say
yes.
it. And that hesitancy, I think, is extremely troubling to the American people, certainly to my home state of Tennessee. We need to stand as a beacon of freedom. And again, I think the problem, the hesitancy, is really seated deeply in the fact that they're pushing socialist policies here in America. We need to be talking about this, and the American people need to be looking at this with their eyes wide open.
And it's interesting because I look at other regimes around the world that are oppressive. You think about what's happening in Iran right now. You think about what's happening in China right now, Cuba also. Part of the strategy is to, oppress people by keeping them silent, by not giving them access to information and communication techniques with the outside world. We're talking about the internet here. We're talking about the ability to show us what's happening on the ground there. That oppressiveness, that silence is what keeps people under the control of these regimes. And yet nobody's doing anything about this in Cuba, when here in the United States, we could help them with their internet access.
We absolutely could. And I was just talking with two of my colleagues right before I came on about ways that we could work with the private sector, about the ways the United States could be supportive in terms of turning back on internet access, allowing the Cuban public to see what's happening and allowing the rest of the world to find out what's happening in Cuba.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on this story, a very important one, and we thank you so much for your time, Senator. Good evening. Okay. The border crisis deepens. ICE is nabbing more than 300 illegal immigrant sex offenders since June. Meanwhile, the